Well, as expected, the Montana legislature put a wrap on its 2019 session Thursday. Lawmakers completed their work on the state's two-year budget, passed Medicaid expansion, and approved millions of dollars in public building projects. But they also left some things undone and still on the table. MTN's Mike Dennison was at the Capitol as the final day unfolded.
The final gavel came down in the Montana House at 3:40 p.m. and the Senate had finished its business an hour before, not long after voting on the final pieces of the state's $10 billion two-year budget. The sponsor of the main budget bill, Republican Representative Nancy Balance of Hamilton, said it increased state spending only 3.8% over the two-year period and called it a good, hard-fought compromise.
So yes, this is probably not something that everyone loves, but it's probably the best this group could have done.
Big pieces of the budget include the $700 million a year Medicaid expansion program, which provides health coverage to 95,000 low-income adults, hundreds of millions of dollars in building projects, including a new $48 million Historical Society museum, the remodel of Romney Hall on the MSU campus, and local water and sewer projects all over the state. Majority Republicans also touted a number of bills yet to be signed to aid business and the economy, such as a tax abatement to encourage more broadband in rural areas.
It's a laundry list of things we tried to get done, and we got a good many of them accomplished, and now it's up to the governor to see whether or not he would like to come to an agreement on those bills. Obviously, let them become law without his signature or sign them.
Governor Steve Bullock said later he'll examine each bill that comes to his desk, but that some will be vetoed if they bust the budget. Thursday also saw two items that failed to pass: state funding for preschool and language to help Northwestern Energy buy part of the Colstrip 4 power plant. The Colstrip language never made it to committee, and Republicans on a budget panel rejected preschool funding proposals, which Bullock said was a disappointment.
Quality preschool ought not be only for families who can afford it. I do call on our future leaders who will be in these Capitol hallways in 2 years to find a way to get a permanent, publicly funded preschool program done for the state once and for all.
Yet the governor chose to put a positive spin on the work of the 2019 legislature.
At the end of the day, I do think in Montana we continue to be a shining example of how our political system is supposed to work. We've once again demonstrated that we can put partisan politics aside and come together to do right by Montanans.
As one legislative leader said Thursday, no one gets everything they want from this democratic process. But for the most part, lawmakers Thursday focused on what they did accomplish rather than not. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And MTN News will follow up next week with a more detailed look at some of the key proposals approved by the legislature. A man who attacked a woman in a bathroom in Yellowstone National Park last summer will spend 6.5 years in federal prison. 30-year-old Jackson Combs wrapped his head in toilet paper, then broke down the door of the bathroom stall at Mammoth. Rangers say Combs punched the woman in the face, then slammed her head into the door. Her traveling companion heard her cries for help, but when he came to her aid, Combs used bear spray on both of them. A passerby helped subdue Combs until Rangers arrived. It's called the Red Sand Project, a social media campaign looking to bring more awareness to human trafficking. As Q2's Samantha Sullivan reports, advocates, survivors, and community leaders gathered Thursday in Billings to bring the issue out of the darkness.
Ugly things happen around us every day. Some are things we can see, while others stay hidden in the shadows. Human trafficking is an ugly truth. It's an ugly truth that dozens of people, many of them just kids, are living out here in our community every day. There are groups here in Billings who are working to bring awareness to this growing problem, and on this day, it's education and little red bags of sand to fill the cracks so many vulnerable people have fallen through.
The victims are generally very young children who've been abused. They're foster kids, they're runaways, there's addiction in the family, but sometimes not. It can happen to anyone. The problem is that it hides, and people don't see it, so they don't want to talk about it, and they don't know what's going on.
What's going on is this. 89 self-identified victims of human trafficking in Billings in just the last few years. Many of them are teenagers, kids in vulnerable situations having sex to stay alive. It's happening in our community and right under our noses.
A lot of times they're manipulated and their minds are kidnapped by their trafficker. They don't know that they're a victim.
While each story is different, no horror endured the same as the last. Many victims face the same challenges in realizing they're a victim in the first place and getting the help they need.
It's very hard to rehabilitate a trafficking victim. The only thing we really can do is to lean on the support of our victim services here in Billings. Places like Tumbleweed and the YWCA and HER campaign and Operation Underground Railroad, they all have the tools to be able to help people who have become victims of abuse.
In Billings, Samantha Sullivan, MTN News.
And Samantha also learned Thursday many victims are first trafficked in some way between the ages of 11 and 14. So education about sex trafficking is an important talk to have with your children. Metro Park helps bring about $151 million to the local economy, along with more than 2,000 jobs. Those numbers were revealed on Thursday in the Metro Park 2018 report. The study by Northwestern Energy, Big Sky Economic Development, and Circle Analytics of Missoula shows Metro's gross economic impact may be as high as $225 million. An 8-week period starting August 2nd brought out more than 275,000 people to the Metro. During that time, the venue welcomed country music stars Chris Stapleton, Kelly Clarkson, and Luke Bryan, as well as the Wrangler national team roping finals and President Trump. This week, Yellowstone County Commissioners approved the new name for the arena. Come June 1st, its first interstate arena at Metro Park. In health news, multiple sclerosis is often unpredictable and disabling. But as Q2's Janelle Slade shows us, MS research and medical advancements are making a major difference.
I got stuck under my needle, that's what it was.
Echo Kaneki does a lot of smiling in this pool because the work done here has helped her literally get back on her feet. Echo, diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2006, has watched her body slow and her independence dwindle. That is until last fall, when she started a new advanced MS treatment, reduced stress by retiring from her full-time job, and recently
Oh my goodness.
took to the water.
I started doing pool therapy in January, the end of January, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can walk in the water, so that was just like, yeah, so of course then I had to do it on the land too, you know, because that's just, yeah, I had to have that too.
So she did, and just 7 weeks ago, she walked into church.
Something happens in the immune system. We don't know exactly what drives it, whether or not it's a genetic underpinning or some sort of environmental trigger that makes the immune system start attacking the spinal cord and the brain.
Dr. Chris French, a neurologist at St. Vincent, says MS impacts every patient differently, but research and medications have come a long way to slow down the disease, minimize brain injury, and keep people walking.
Well, I'll stand up. I can do that.
20 years ago, there were 4 medications available. Now there's 19. Almost every year in the last 10 years, a new medication has been approved.
Echo says she's not quite ready to take on the long aisles of a big box store, but she's thrilled to grab back some of her independence.
If I want to just go to some place small or go to visit a friend or whatever, yeah, I can get in and out and with my walker, and so that's pretty awesome.
In Billings, Janelle Slade, MTN News.
Dr. French says research to reverse MS is on the horizon, possibly in the next few years. And now here's what you can do to help. This Saturday is Walk MS. If you haven't already, you can register at St. John's Lutheran Home Pavilion Saturday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. The walk kicks off there at 10 a.m.